As someone who has been working in the fitness industry for over a decade now and teaches about half a dozen disciplines, from yoga to reformer to powerlifting to calisthenics to mixed martial arts, there is an absurd amount of exercises you can go through and so many that have insane amounts of benefits. It makes it really hard to choose which exercises to do. With that said, having gone through so many exercises, from very effective, very amazing exercises to subpar beginner exercises that barely have any sort of benefit, it has given me somewhat of a perspective which exercises are best to add to your repertoire from each of these disciplines. So what we're gonna do today is check out some of the most effective exercises from multiple disciplines, which, if you added them to your own workouts, will make a world's difference and change your life for the better drastically. So if you're ready, let's go and have some fun. Starting out with classic calisthenics or gymnastics, there is one exercise that has an insane amount of benefits, and that exercise is called skin the cat. The tucked variation, where you pull in your legs first, roll over like so, and release your entire body weight into this hanging position, lengthening your shoulders and your chest and relaxing into it before you once again tuck in, reverse in a controlled fashion, and release all the way. Now, this tuck variation has the added benefit that you do not need as much posterior chain flexibility as you would need with the extended version. This exercise is amazing at combining core strength. Even just the tucked version is very good for working on your hip flexors, working on your quad strength and your abdominals, especially your lower abdominals. And even more so is this exercise amazing for shoulder mobility and scapular control, requiring insane amounts of flexibility and control to both get into this position as well as reverse it all the way. This rotational movement will take our scapula through upward rotation as well as downward rotation, elevation and depression, as well as abduction and adduction, basically combining all the major scapular positions, which are very important to master if you want to advance when it comes to gymnastics or calisthenics or even just classic hypertrophy training, to make sure that you do not get injured and so you can execute exercises perfectly with good form, leading to faster growth and more benefit. If you want a step-by-step guide how to achieve skin the cat, you can check out these videos where we go through it from the beginner level all the way to the more advanced variation. When it comes to mobility, if you've been on this channel before, to no one's surprise, we'll be using the Cossack squat as a base, because from this movement, not only can you pretty much stretch your entire body, but you can also have an insane amount of different variations by just changing a tiny bit of the movement pattern. For instance, here we have posterior chain activation, anterior chain stretch, all the way up, adductor flexibility, hamstring flexibility. We can move backwards into a complete body stretch in the anterior chain, downward in a complete body stretch in the posterior chain, switch it up. We can add multiple different explosive movement patterns. We're going to require a lot of strength, a lot of flexibility, and add even more upper body strength as well, not to mention the insane amount of control we're going to require to go through these movement patterns, adding a lot of mind-muscle connection, making our other workouts even better and even more advanced. While this exercise is very quad dominant and very leg dominant, by adding all of these upper body movements as well, we're gonna have a pretty decent full body workout we can use at any time to either warm up or as its own workout routine. If you want to see the most effective variations of the Cossack squat, how to advance further with it, how to build in more mobility and more flexibility, and how to use it for hypertrophy, you can check out this video where we go through it once again, step by step. Now, when it comes to yoga, one of the most beneficial exercises you can do, and if you have a spine, I would definitely advise you that you do that at least 3 to 4 times a week for a couple of minutes. And that would be the dynamic switch between cat and cow, or basically spinal extension, flexing our spinal erectors and our back musculature and going into complete external rotation in both of our shoulders, so we can add a little bit of rotator cuff mobility as well, and switching into internal rotation, extending our arms, lengthening our back and our shoulders and our neck, going through complete spinal flexion, pulling our stomach in, adding more core control and working dynamically when breathing in into extension and external rotation, and when breathing out into flexion and internal rotation. We're basically stretching our entire back musculature. We're working on our shoulder mobility. And most importantly, we're learning how to control the musculature surrounding our spine, which is very important, especially the part about the pelvic tilt, where we go into anterior and posterior pelvic tilt, which is very important movement if you want to advance when it comes to squats, deadlifts, calisthenics. If you want to learn front levers, back levers, all of this stuff, you need to have perfect control over your lower back and your hips. And if you do not have that, you will not only advance much slower, but you will also increase your injury risk. So work on this one. It has an amazing amount of benefits. And even if you do not have any of these lifting or fitness goals, you can still use it to rehabilitate your back if you have tightness and tightness related pains and aches. Now, when it comes to lifting, I would be doing you a disservice if we didn't use the king of all lifting exercises, which is the deadlift. And specifically, we'll be using the sumo deadlift, which is a wider stance, feet pointed outwards, knees following your feet. Here, we're gonna need the control over our hips and our spinal erectors to get into this neutral or spinal extension and to keep our back in this safe position so we do not compromise our back safety and we do not increase our injury risk. Now, if I had to list all of the benefits you'd get from a deadlift, would be here until tomorrow. However, the most important ones, especially with the sumo variation, is we're building a lot of strength in our legs and our core, as well as our glutes and our spinal erectors, which are some of the most injury-prone problem zones. We're working on our grip strength, which is very amazing for people who are working on calisthenics or climbing and bouldering. Working on our trap musculature as well, surrounding our scapula, and doing one of the most full body strength dominant exercises you can think of. This will not only make you a lot stronger and help you build a little bit more mass, it will also help you connect your upper body to your lower body when it comes to strength, due to the compound nature of this movement where our entire body has to work in tandem so we do the exercise correctly and we do not hurt ourselves. Now, when it comes to pure flexibility, there is almost no exercise as effective as the couch stretch, where we have one lower leg in complete contact with a wall behind us, the knee as close to the wall as possible on the ground, and the other foot flat on the floor, right in front of our body, upper body fully upright. And already in this position, most people will have a nice stretch in their hip flexors and their quads, as well as their lower abdominals. The more we get upright in our upper body, the more anterior chain stretch we have. Now comes the really important part with this exercise. Your hip placement will dictate where you stretch more and where you stretch less. Upper body fully upright. When you start pushing forward, you're gonna move the stretch to your hip flexors up here. And when you start pushing back, you're gonna move that stretch lower and lower and lower in your quads, all the way down to the insertions surrounding your knee. So now you can basically target some of the hardest places to target when it comes to stretching in general. We have complete ankle extension, amazing bonus in this exercise, but mostly our lower quads all the way up through our hip flexors and our lower abdominals, all in one single go. And now we can work dynamically. Push back and push forward. Ankle mobility in both legs, knee mobility in both legs, insane amounts of hip mobility in both legs. And we can work on our spinal extension as well by pushing our stomach out and leaning back as much as we can. We're gonna have a nice stretch in our upper body, anterior chain as well, while working on strengthening that posterior chain in our upper body. And when it comes to martial arts, there is one exercise you should definitely work. It is more of a conditioning exercise than the fighting one. However, it builds full body control and full body strength in an insane way, which is the classic wide horse stance. With our feet slightly pointed upwards, our knees following our feet in the exact same direction, our upper body fully upright, and you can either extend your arms or place them on the side if you need some support over time. And I would advise working on this exercise, opening up your hips, working on strengthening your glutes and your leg musculature in a static way, with your upper body fully upright, requiring a lot of control. The longer you stay in this position, the more strength and control you're going to require and the more you're going to build of that. But mostly the insane amount of concentration you're going to need to hold this position for a very long time. And I would advise working your way up to 5 minutes, which sounds like a lot, and it is a lot, but the amounts of benefits you get from a longer horse stance are just too powerful to simply ignore. We've been using this when it comes to our BJJ and our Thai boxing training for basically since I can remember. Since the first time I started with any sort sort of martial arts, which was karate. When I was like 12 years old, we were using the horse stance always. Every single martial arts trainer I have worked with has been using the horse stance, and for good reason. It is probably one of the oldest exercises, which even the Shaolin use thousands of years, and it has been established as one of the more effective static exercises you can do. We have a handful of exercises from multiple different disciplines. We have a couple of videos linked if you want to go through them step by step, and all of these, I can promise you, if you work on them for a longer time regularly, will have an absolutely drastic benefit for your life. Engage a little bit, leave a comment, tell me which exercises you do like, tell me which exercises you hate, tell me which discipline you would love to learn about more. Let me know if you liked the video, hated the video, or just let me know that you exist. And subscribe. We do stuff like this pretty much every single day. So until tomorrow, Captain Cairo, peace out.